What's been going on, scum rats? Brainsmasher. Sorry, I'm being kind of loud. Brainsmasher. Really excited. Trying to be really excited about another fucking collection update. The umpteenth collection update that you're really excited about right now. Thank you for joining me. This is a reshoot. A couple days ago, I shot this video and I hated it. Not up to my standards. I hold high standards for you, my faithful subscribers and friends. How you been doing? Sorry it's been a while. Been really busy. Sick. Celebrated my 40th turn around the sun yesterday by ordering a shit ton of records, but I've been a little too busy to order records before yesterday. Cleaned out my mom's house. It's kind of a busy time. Inherited a bunch of her records. Got rid of a lot of them. Fucking Barry Manilow and Seals and Crofts and stuff like that, whatever. But I kept a lot of stuff that kind of reminded me of my childhood and stuff that we liked together and whatnot. So, haven't been buying a lot of stuff, but still a metalhead. Yup. How about you? So, yeah, we're just going to go across a few things that I've picked up lately and have a great time. Also, been listening to the new Blood Incantation a lot. It's fucking amazing. The new Obsequii a lot. What else was I going to say? Oh, I'm kind of like having computer issues. I'm kind of in between computers, so I'm hoping this is able to go up soon after I shoot it. Anyways, enough with the housekeeping. The knuckle dragging nonsense we're listening to in the background is none other than Splattered Cadaver with Merciless Butchery. Yeah, my death metal leanings lately have gotten to this point. I haven't probably listened to this in 15 years or so. I was at a Milwaukee Metal Fest, probably 98, 99 or something like that. And dude came up to me and asked me if I wanted a copy of his record. He's in here somewhere. Yeah, this guy, John, came up to me, gave me a copy of this, thought it looked cool. I wound up like running into him at a couple of subsequent metal fests, and cool guy. So, but this is just like indicative of a genre of music that I do not care about, but I'm happy to have maybe 5 or 6 records from this kind of stuff that every once in a while kind of hit the spot. And for some reason I've been kind of seeing a lot of people posting like gory, splattery kind of 2000s death metal, and decided to put this on. I hope you love it. Milwaukee death metal from 2000. So my good buddy Dave sent me a care package of goodies, and we're going to lead off with that. Starting off, he sent me his favorite record from 2017, I believe. That sounds right. And I did see this on a lot of year-end lists, and I was kind of apprehensive because I have a split Evil Feast. I have a split with Evil Feast and Marble Bog, and the Evil Feast side wasn't so hot, so I kind of like stepped away from Evil Feast, thinking like, I don't know, I'll wait for the good stuff to come to me. I would, tweak a few things, and luckily though, Elegies of the Stellar Wind is exactly what I wanted to hear improved with Evil Feast, and I really wound up liking it quite a bit. So that's just why it's so fun and valuable to have a friend send you albums that like they know you would like, because sometimes it's just what it takes to get you to make that next step, so Dave, I really appreciate it. This record reminds me quite a bit of lots of things, 90s Scandinavian kind of stuff, even though Evil Feast is from Poland. Definitely lots of kind of early Emperor kind of stuff, Kampfar, things of that nature. Great stuff. Check this out. I'm sure a lot of you guys are already on the bandwagon with that. Along those same lines, he also sent me this record he's been just going nuts about lately, and it is really tremendous. This is Shelob's Lair with Nightfall in Heaven. So the backstory on this will tell you a lot about what it sounds like. This came out on Northern Silence Productions, and this is the only band that the owner, label runner of Northern Silence has been in. And this was a demo recorded back in the year 2000, and it remained unreleased until it came out this year. It was very, very DIY German but Scandinavian sounding black metal from early 2000. It's got this kind of like cavernous, like, I don't know, maybe it's just the band name doing so much to the atmosphere, but I don't know, the reverb and the delay on the drums and the vocals just lend so much to this idea of, like, say you find yourself in a cave, but way back in the depths of the cave is a black metal band playing in this room or something. It's just, it sounds so catacomby, if you will. The atmosphere and the sound and the production lends so much to the music and the atmosphere that it's just a wonderful listen. Check out Shelob's Lair, Nightfall in Heaven. It is a full length. It's got 8 tracks on it. I couldn't tell you the length on it yet. I've only had a chance to spin it about 1 or 2 times. Next, he fucking surprised the shit out of me with something I heard no one talk about. And I'm surprised because I put this on not knowing anything. Funeral Storm with Arcane Mysteries. I put this on, gave it a blind listen, if you will, and within the first song, I knew this was top-notch Greek Hellenic metal, and there had to be a member of Varathrun or Rotting Christ or Thou Art Lord, something along those lines. I looked it up and I was right. The singer of Varathrun is in this band, and I mean, that should tell you a lot about what it sounds like. It sounds super Greek, riffs right up front, just fucking awesome, well-written riffs. The vocals are just, they lend a lot of credibility to the quality of music being written here. So good stuff. Came out on Hell's Headbangers this year. There's kind of like a lot of synthy type of interludes that kind of give it this like grandiose kind of maturity to it. So I really like the attitude behind it. That was a really cool unknown thing for me. So I don't know, maybe I'm just not watching the guys that are talking about this record or whatnot, but if you're not listening to Funeral Storm, Arcane Mysteries, you're missing out if anything of that Greek nature sounds good to you. By the way, while I'm thinking about it, have you pre-ordered the new Obsequii record from 20 Bucks Spin? Pre-orders are up right now for 4 different vinyl variants, a CD, a shirt, and a long sleeve. I got my order in yesterday and I can't fucking wait. So he also sent me kind of a wild card out of nowhere. This is a band called Calyx out of Spain, and the album is called Vientos Archaicos, which, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of this inside joke that me and my friends have of like all this Latin kind of being used. And my friend Ron, he always says, "Obscurus, never heard of us." Anyways, this is super solid, well written. It's being called black metal, but I don't really see it that way. I would, you know, sometimes when things kind of are neither black metal nor death metal, I feel like we need to be more comfortable just calling it metal. It doesn't need to be blackened death metal or deathened black metal or atmospheric death black metal or whatever. Some things can just be fucking metal, and it doesn't mean that it's traditional heavy metal or like or whatnot. So like, I would categorize this personally as just plain metal. It's not fast and brutal. It's got great, well-written riffs. A lot of times too, I think people just use the vocals to determine whether it's black metal or death metal. It's not really worth it getting lost in all the semantics of categorizing this shit, but this is just a great metal record. They're out of Spain, and this came out on Iron Bonehead. It's not the kind of thing I would maybe go out of my way to buy all that regularly, but to have it gifted from a friend and presented in that way, just really appreciate that. It's a strong album. It's well written, super well recorded too. I was really impressed with the recording quality on it. And like, I just don't really know much about bands from Spain, or I'm just kind of at a loss for like bands to compare this to. It's just really well written, good, fun listen. Vientos Archaicos from Calyx. He also sent me kind of a wild card. We've been talking about metal 99% of the time, but every once in a while, Dave and I like to talk about the non-metal stuff that we listen to. And one of his favorite non-metal bands, or maybe just this album, is this one from Beirut, Gulag Orchestra. This is a project that I had heard about back when it came out, I think around 2003, 4, 5 maybe or so. I used to hang around people who were a lot more into just like indie rock, singer-songwriter kind of stuff, and I picked up on some of that kind of stuff. Like Interpol is great, John Vanderslice, etc., etc. But this one, I heard the name, and I just never really got around to listening to it, I suppose. But it's an interesting release. He, the main guy, I think, just kind of hunkered down in his parents' basement and recorded this elaborate, sort of like Latin music-inspired kind of, I don't really know what to call it. I don't think I've ever really heard anything like this, but it really sounds Latin to me from what my limited experience and that kind of stuff is. But interesting thing to send along. Thank you, Dave. And lastly, Dave has a knack for his last few packages of kind of picking something that like reached a little bit further than I was willing to go for this kind of resurgent death metal kind of scene. And like, I've got to credit Ground Zero Salem by kind of coming up with this the other day and saying it so well. But yeah, there is a shitload of this kind of death metal gatekeeping where a lot of guys want to say like I just don't even really understand the argument. I don't want to enjoy too much stuff, or like, I only like death metal that's old because it's only good when it's old. I don't know. There's great death metal coming out right fucking now, and it's been a long time since that happened. Yes, there's a big fear that this stuff is just going to piddle out and do the same thing it did back in 96, 97, 98, yada, yada, yada. But a lot of these bands are referencing way hard, really good albums and doing a fucking killer job of it. So this is a band I had been seeing going around, and I was like, nah, I'm gonna pass. I don't know. It sounds good, but I wouldn't go out of my way to get it. So Dave grabbed it and sent it to me, and fuck if I love it. Cerebral Rot, Odious Descent into Decay. Yeah, like, this is killer. You really can't talk about this band without talking about Autopsy. It sounds a shitload like Autopsy. Now, what is wrong with that? Yeah, Autopsy is still active, and from what I know, they're still making good death metal, but what's wrong with having two good Autopsies? These guys do bring a little bit more originality to the table, but they're definitely starting with a molded clay of Autopsy worship. And I will say, I'm not a huge Autopsy fan. The Scooby-Doo vocals are missing with Cerebral Rot, and I kind of like that about it. There's lots of weird kind of frenetic, skronky, kind of squiggly guitar leads going on all over the place. It's kind of chaotic. There's a lot of variety to what they're doing. It's not just meatheady kind of death metal. I've given it maybe 3 or 4 spins, and I'm really, really liking it. It is dirty, grimy, and it doesn't sound precise like a lot of death metal does. It has that Autopsy kind of like loosened bolts on all 4 corners kind of sound. It's a really good record. Check this out. It's on 20 bucks spin. So onto the pile of stuff that I got myself because I love myself. How about this? So in the last episode, maybe not last at this point, but in an episode a few episodes ago of Radical Research, the podcast that you should be listening to, at the end of it, they gave like a preview of their next episode, and they said they're going to talk about unsung bands that weren't signed and never had their day in the sunshine or what have you. And some of them I was familiar with. Just for funsies, I kind of looked up and to see if any of it was something I could pick up for a couple of bucks. And I did find something. So I'm looking forward to them releasing this episode and talking about this embryonic death with regurgitated streams of rot. So this compiles 3 demos from 91, 92, and 93. And the highlight here, I think, is this one, the Stream of Solidarity rec demo that came out in 93. So the other 2 demos, we'll just get these out of the way. Pretty just typical, gory, brutal, kind of grindy death metal. It's good. It's the kind of thing that Pathos Productions would enjoy and put out a lot of. And you know what? I haven't gotten to the second demo yet. It's actually at the end because I can't stop listening to this Stream of Solidarity demo. It is so fucking bizarre and nuts. I've really tried to think hard about how to describe this band. So I'm looking forward to the Radical Research guys taking that on. I guess if you're kind of familiar with like Human Remains, some of that like herky-jerky kind of skronky, weird, technical death metal would be kind of a familiar brethren, but it's so original and weird. I've honestly never heard anything like this Stream of Solidarity demo. It's so goddamn weird. So you can pick up this compendium of their 3 demos on Discogs for a couple of bucks. Just don't buy it from Pathos Productions because that guy's a fucking loser. Anyway, so I also picked up this double album from Elysian Blaze. This is Blood Geometry, and it came out on Osmos Productions in the year 2012. So I talked about these guys when we were in the alphabetical part where these guys would have come up. And I realized I needed to pick this up. So finally did. Armageddon came through real hard like they always do. If you don't know, here's the scoop on Elysian Blaze. They have this kind of like very distant, corrosive sort of delay to their sound. It's black metal. It's very, very lo-fi black metal that sounds like it's on a distant mountain being performed, but I don't know, there's just something so enveloping about it. It's so hard just to not get completely enamored by them when they're on top of their game. This is a double album, and there's nothing special between like disc 1 or disc 2. It's just an album of their style of music. Really not a whole lot to look at here, so I'm not really showing much. Just doing their thing for a really long time. They do kind of dance around some instrumentation that's not typical. It does kind of remind me a little bit of that Cult de Ghouls album. Hold on. Coven, not just because it's a double album, but it has just this like almost angelic quality to like this piano-led harmony, but then again it just has this slow churning kind of almost doomy black metal kind of sound to it. It's really unique. Dave, I know you're watching, but definitely check this out. It's great, but I will say the caveats to it is that it's not the kind of thing you could really sit down and listen to in one session. It's really, really long, and honestly, there's 4 tracks on each disc, and I remember on the second disc, the third track is at least 23 minutes long. So I mean, the span that these guys are working with on one song to another is just insane. And there are parts that I would have definitely cut from the record to make this maybe one disc, but worth having. You can pick this up for relatively cheap. Good stuff. Moving on, I actually got this about 2 months ago or so, and I forgot to talk about it in my last collection update. But this is Ancient Wisdom for Snow Covered the Northland. So I thought I don't need to check out any Ancient Wisdom records. I had The Calling, and it is not very good. I've just always had it in my collection for a long time. But my buddy Tanner from Obsequiate swears by this, so I finally decided to shell out $40 for this copy of it. It's kind of rare, it hasn't been reissued. Avant-Garde Records put this out in '96, and what makes this a special record, if you're familiar with any of the other Ancient Wisdom material, is that I can't think of his name, probably Anders Nystrom or something along those lines. The guitar player who played on this album only played for Ancient Wisdom on this album, and it is a really special, unique masterpiece. He also played on Nagelfar. He actually is in Nagelfar. He was in a couple other projects too. What is that? At the Site of the Apocalypse Dragon by Midwinter. He's in that band too. But so this, if you're familiar with maybe early Catatonia, this has a lot in common with that. It being that it's like really, really slow and patient, but also Swedish and melodic. There's also kind of a lot of Celtic Frost influence going on. So, you know, if you're interested in digging back into a 90s Swedish black metal record and the Celtic Frost influence draws you in, I'm kind of looking at you, Pat. Definitely give this a listen. It is really, really rad. Also picked up, let's see here, another non-metal release. Man, I am absolutely obsessed all over again with my buddy Coulter Wall. He put out this 45 a couple of weeks ago, and I had to pick it up. It's so good. I will buy anything this man puts out. One song is called Bob Fudge. The other side, Happy Reunion. If anybody is out there hooting and hollering about how classic country is the best and nobody makes good country anymore, without talking about Coulter Wall, that man is not your friend. Coulter Wall is one of the most brilliant songwriters I've heard come along in many, many years. I'm so excited about having a guy who's alive and young. The dude is like 23 years old and he's making perfect old school country music that sounds just so damn good. He sounds a lot like Johnny Cash if you need that for a reference. But he's coming into his own. He's got kind of a full band now with him on this. I believe the plan is to record the next full length with a full band. Just watching his progression has been really exciting. But I will say, they sent this out in a bubble mailer. And if you know anything about 7 inches or 45s, you don't fucking send them out in a fucking bubble mailer. They get fucking all bent up, so I'm kind of pissed about that, but whatever. I'm a huge Coulter Wall fan, and honestly, I probably listen to Coulter Wall more than I listen to metal these days. It's getting kind of out of hand, so if that sells you on him any more than I already have tried, give him a listen. He's fucking amazing. We'll end this video off, hopefully under 30 minutes, by talking about Morbid. This is Year of the Goat. This is a 2 CD set that Century Media put out back in 2011. And I've kind of always wanted to have some Morbid stuff, but like the bootlegging is out of hand, the live stuff, the rehearsal tracks, just, you know, it's kind of weird that we have this metal band that is like one of the cornerstones of the black metal genre, but they don't have any official releases per se, like post-mortem they do, but so like their cult status has so much to do with their association with Mayhem, but this does a lot to kind of solidify their relevance before all that shit happened. There's a great foreword in here by Daniel Eckeroth, who wrote the Swedish death metal book. The layout was done by Eric Danielson, and then after the midsection, there's like an interview with one of the members of Morbid, and then there's like a rundown of gigs, pictures, lyrics, like it's all here. So I'm really happy to have kind of an official reissue of this. There's a 3 LP version of it, which I don't know. Morbid stuff probably goes for way, way, way too much. So I don't know, I'm just kind of happy to have like an official Morbid release here. It's got December Moon on it, of course, rehearsal tracks, which have been probably bootlegged on shit ton of other releases that I don't care about. And then there's 3 live shows, all from '87. And the second disc, yeah, it's a little windy. I don't need to listen to 3 whole live shows from Morbid in one setting, that's for sure. But just really nice presentation here. Definitely worth having, but I'll be honest, I mostly bought it just because it was pretty cheap. I think I paid like $25 for it or so. Dinged up corner on it, which I don't really care that much about, but ordinarily I was seeing this go for between like 40 and 50 bucks, and I was like, nah, but finally found one for 25 and happy I picked it up. I really like this band, apart from their association with Mayhem. They really deserve some attention for just being a killer band, aside from the singer of Mayhem was in that band and whatnot. So thanks for joining me. That is it. We will maybe shoot another video today if I get around to it. But yeah, let me know what you're listening to, and we will see you next time. Thank you.